that purpose as well, though.
Yeah, here's the thing, right? The declaration and the immediate, sort of bell that rings is Declaration of Independence, which has very strong positive connotations.
Sure.
Manifesto rings the bell, Communist Manifesto,
Yep.
which for a large number of people has
Socialist.
very negative connotation.
Yep.
So because declaration can mean business, Declaration of Independence can mean business. You know, it's still a strong word, but it doesn't. It carries a lot of good connotations.
Yeah.
For people who may not, may view the world that way.
Okay. Yep. I'm not. Good discussion. I don't have anything else. I mean, in a way, there's some things about the transition movement that are similar to the Occupy movement, the way it's starting and so on. And at the core, we have a set of values. And every transition, there are now 1,800 transition movements in the World Initiative. Every single one goes in a different direction, but they all have the same core values. And the principal core value is to move away from oil dependence to local resilience. So if you had some sort of core that was common, core value, I think it'd be easier. I wouldn't think there would be any reason why Occupy Peterborough wouldn't be different in this manner and that manner from Occupy Vancouver, but you would have the same core values. So that's
I think that's maybe a useful piece to include in this 10 clear statements, that maybe we go out and do some research and sort of individuals can sort of say, wow, hey, I found Seattle, they were awesome, and New York was awesome. And
did you see anything in Toronto there, the convention, about a central message that can be shared amongst all the occupiers? Or?
No, it's only what they've always proclaimed in the camp and so on, the inequality. And 99.1% of they're taking mostly.
Well, that obviously has to be one of the main ones.
You didn't say anything, Steve, did you? Something really like a manifesto, or like we were at Toronto's last weekend. I don't really recall anything. Maybe it wasn't much.
There's tons of stuff, actually. I mean, I could send you about 100 things.
like non-violence is a core value.
Yeah.
That's a core value. And there are probably 2 or 3 others.
Opposition to the 1%, core value. Inequality in the system.
But in terms of what you're going to do, it's different here than Toronto, it's different in Toronto than Vancouver.
yeah, the local issues and the local
But
issues.
still, I don't believe that in order to be occupied, we need to have these core values that are the same all throughout.
That's right.
And I do believe that, acknowledgement of our crappy political system, acknowledgement of inequality, these are all core values amongst all the occupied, and that's what I meant by what we need to focus on developing.
Well, let's tie that into this Why Occupy project, which is starting to kind of expand, because I think this would be a great opportunity to actually census the group, get people to build I think a big piece of declaring Occupy Peterborough's declaration is that it was built from Occupy Peterborough. I think it's great for people to research other places, get some inspiration, but it needs to kind of be homegrown, obviously. So I think after the February 1st, and obviously we can propose this later and pitch it to Outreach, but Outreach can really kind of take this as their central project in collaboration with communication and everybody else. So we can actually go forward with this and make something. I'm just looking at the time, it is 2:15, so people wanted to get going for, was it 3:15 or?
3:15, yeah.
Okay. So the proposals were this is a non-binding assembly because we don't have enough people. So for next week, working on the Treasury proposal, really fleshing out this Why Occupy project and its scope and its goals, and I would love to talk about that at the Outreach meeting, invite and everybody. And that was another thing. And I think this is what communication is going to take on, is really advertising to the whole group when committee meetings are ahead of time. So if we can have a relatively standard time for Outreach, like Tuesdays at 6, and say, everybody, this is happening every week, if you want to be a part of this, this is what it is. And that way we can start, because if you have a DA meeting coming up, Outreach meeting, then people can actually start talking about out of all SCAD and the February 1st stuff.
And attempting to complete this if we can.
Yeah, and that's gonna, yeah, that's coming up. Yeah, just, we'll wrap that up. I think I think we need a timekeeper and as in addition to a facilitator. So when we do the temperature check, if it's predominantly positive with a few negatives, we'll try and cap it at 15 minutes, 20 minutes tops. So that we can actually have a discussion while moving things forward. I think that'd be a good suggestion for next week. Is there anything else that we need to bring up for next week, or things to work on this week?
Well, I think already from last week, can't forget where you were gonna bring up the occupied thing again. That's on the books for next
That's on
week.
the books for next week.
I'd like to talk about an encampment, maybe not during the cold weather season, but once things start to thaw out.
Long-term goals.
Yeah.
I think it's some long-term ideas out there floating around. So things that would give people kind of a perspective. So saying, in a few months, we'd love to start working on this, and a year from now, and 4 years from now. I think that conversation is going to start happening. But yeah, different mediums for the message.
It probably should start happening soon because the winter just sort of,
Oh yeah.
it's already February. Camp's a big thing.
Yeah.
We'll get our core values down first. Okay, then we'll talk about
Is
it.
there an encampment committee, or would I have to start that?
So
You should start
We
it.
should
that
start
sounds like a
with-
proposal.
That's definitely a proposal. Conservation committee.
Sure.
Or cool.
Yeah, I'll do that next week.
We'll make you a Google.
Cool.
What's the proposal?
Well, I am just, it's been back in my mind, I guess, everyone's mind is just to have an encampment, so have a, most likely outside in a public park, have an occupying encampment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Across from City Hall.
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
I'd love to do even just like flash ones where it's just like you show up like
Yeah.
for a week or a
Didn't
weekend.
Toronto just do a weekend event?
Yeah, first City Hall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, perfect. Get out in the media, get people to see it. Those are the kinds of things that direct action should be.
Yeah, they have a small encampment now, don't they, at Osgood?
Do that.
They came out of the Stop the Ford cuts. Like, they're camped there now.
Oh,
Not very many,
This is
but
gonna be an ongoing thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, I thought it was only a weekend event.
I was good home.
well, they want to stay.
It's beside Nathan Phillips Square in Toronto,
Are you gonna be here next week?
City Hall.
I'm in Kansas City meetings.
And Osgood will be part of the UT law.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's a good place. Does anybody else? Because I'm gonna put these together into like a notes minutes thing. Just so
Yeah.
people can see what we're talking about.
Yeah.
I have questions.
There's no votes, but yeah, notes is good.
Yeah. Notes is good.
Go ahead.
Second, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Community meetings. Maybe we can have one after this.
What I'm looking at is this is like to a core value, okay? And it's about the methodology of how Occupy Peterborough is going to proceed, okay?
Yes.
So for me, I went and inquired with some of the city politicians about, please invite us to Occupy. Well, they need to know what we're at and what we're trying to do. I hear you say oppose the 1%. And I am very leery of opposing the powers that be, because I don't want to be spending 10 or 15 years opposing and fighting City Hall or any of the powers that be. I want to engage them. I want to enlighten them. I want to mix with them like you would mix with the enemy. Keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Very much is the approach that I'm looking at, so that if we are engaging them and enlightening them and giving them feedback, which they don't have good feedback necessarily, and giving them options. So when we look at, Occupy, I put forward some time ago, and I keep putting it forward, the railroad bridge is a problem for the city. And if you analyze why it's a problem and can figure out how to be a part of an improvement or an enhancement that gives opportunity, then you've got an Occupy movement that isn't, just sitting there screaming like childish kids going, fix it, and not giving suggestions.